quadruped hip circle. So we use that quadruped position for a couple reasons. One is it puts us into a little bit more hip flexion, so we can relatively lock up our lumbar spine. And then two is it gives us some feedback to where our limbs are at in space, which then gives you further feedback to where your trunk is if we're really arching through our back. So a lot of times you'll see people doing variations of these, calling them like a fire hydrant, and they are moving all over the place and not moving in the right spot. So we want to do this and trying to be as rigid and immobile through our trunk as possible, because our intention is to drive load and motion into that hip joint. So a simple way to set this up is going to be hands on knees, and then from this position I'll start, and I have to kind of shift my weight to the right if I'm going to do my left hip. And I like to think about bringing my knee toward my chest, and then I'm trying to rotate my knee out, keeping my foot toward midline. And then once my knee gets out as far as it can, then I'll bring my foot out and I'll come back into extension. So I'm trying to get here, keeping my spine in neutral, and then I'll rotate my knee in, bring it back to that start position, and then I reverse the circle like I'm going up and around back to that bottom position. A lot of people will really struggle to be able to clear their knee from the ground. So I've had clients in the past when they get set up here, if I'm going to be moving through my left side, I'll put a yoga block under my right knee so that elevates me a little bit off the ground so this leg can clear the ground when it rotates through. And then if I want to make it harder, what I can do is, again, it works way better if I have a yoga block under my knee here, is rock back heel to butt, because that locks up my pelvis even further. And then I have to go into more hip flexion on the front side. So I'm here, hands kind of posted out in front, pick that leg up, come into hip flexion, external rotation, and then I'm going to kind of go into abduction and extension, rotate through, back to the starting position, and then I'm going to reverse the curvature and come all the way down and back. And then again, to scale it even further, I could come down onto my elbows, drive my upper back toward the ceiling, making sure I'm planted through the right side. And that really gets a lot more isolation into the hip and makes it really hard to compensate through my back. But again, it works a little bit better if you kind of elevate your knees so your your knee is clearing and it's not hitting the ground when you're rotating through the circle component.